I'm back to the persons data set we used earlier in the persons collection. Now, sometimes you want to get a feeling for the distribution of the data you have. And there is a useful command that can help you with that, the bucket stage. So let's prepare our pipeline for this, and let's add the $bucket stage. Now, what does bucket do? The bucket stage allows you to output your data in buckets for which you can calculate certain summary statistics. Bucket takes a group by parameter here, a group by field, where you define by which field do you want to put your data into buckets. And here I will go for the age, so DUB age. So here I'll refer to $DUB.age. This tells Bucket, okay, where is my input data essentially, which I want to put into buckets. Then you define some boundaries, and these are essentially your categories. So you could say I'm interested in my ages 0 to 18, to 30, to 50, to 80, to 120, something like this. This would now create your buckets, so the different categories you have, you want to categorize your data into. Now the question is, what do you want to output for these buckets? And here you define the structure of what you get back. So I could say that in each bucket, I want to have an array of the names. This can be done like in the group phase with the push operator, and I simply push name in there. Now name is an object here, it's this object, so maybe we just take the first names to keep it a bit shorter. You could push objects too, I just want to keep it shorter. So now each bucket will have a document where I see the names of the people who are in the bucket. I also want to see the average age, let's say. We can do that with the average operator you saw before. And here I simply point at DUB age. And I also want to find out how many persons are in the bucket. So for this, we can use sum1. Just in the group stage, 1 will be added for every element in the bucket. Now, let's give this a try. For that, I'll move pretty and aggregate into their positions, copy that, and execute it. And now, well, we have a lot of names in there. It probably was not my best idea to put all the names into the buckets. Here we have a bucket border. Here we see basically for which category this bucket is. We see there are 2,300 people in there. We see the average age. Now, let me get rid of the names here because it's really hard to read that otherwise. So I'll just use the summary statistics now. And this is now easier to read. So now we see we got 3 buckets here, 3 categories essentially. And the reason for us having only 3 buckets is probably that we seem to have no persons younger than 18 or older than 80. So these buckets and this starting point seem to be redundant. Let's quickly check this by running a query on persons and finding all persons who are younger than 18. So we can, of course, do that by pointing at DUB age and then using the lower than operator to see who's lower than 18. And we got none. And now let's tweak this for greater than 80. And we got none there too. So this is correct. And if we sum this up, we would also get our 5,000 records, by the way. And this is the bucket command and how we can use it to get an idea of the distribution. Now we can, of course, fine tune this. Since we know that we got no one who's younger than 18, we can get rid of that. And we want to keep our end bound so that everyone fits in there, but we could add more levels in between for 40 and 60. If I now run this, you see now we got more buckets for more granularity. This is 62 open end basically. And this gives us an idea for our distribution and the average age in every bucket and so on. Now, there also is an alternative to this. You can also run, let me quickly create a new aggregate pipeline. You can also run another stage, which is called bucket auto. Now, as the name suggests, Bucket Auto does the bucketing algorithm for you. What you do here is you simply define the group by key, because of course you need to tell by which field to bucket, so dob.age. You then also define the number of buckets you want to have, and they will then be derived automatically. So MongoDB will look at your data and see where it should draw the boundaries. So we could say we want 5 buckets. And then you also define the output, of course, because you still define what you want to see. And I'll just copy the output from above. So now, if I turn this into a usable format, I can copy that. And if I execute this now, you see, now I get this output. MongoDB tells me which boundaries it created for me. So I see that the youngest person seems to be 21 years old. And then I get these buckets with my summary statistics. Now, each bucket holds almost the same amount of values because MongoDB tried to derive an equal distribution. And Bucket Auto can be an even quicker way for getting a feeling for your data.